Hey, I'm Coach Colin Castello with Shot Mechanics Basketball, and this is our list of the top 10 current NBA three-point shooters. All right, so for this list, we're not looking at your average catch and shoot guys. Instead, what we're doing is we're looking at 4 components that make for a really dynamic shooter. So the 4 categories we're looking at are number 1, consistency, number 2, range, number 3, versatility, and number 4, shot speed. Because those 4 components are all critical to becoming a dynamic shooter and something that you need to develop in your own game. So let's jump right into the countdown.
So we begin the countdown with number 10, Kyle Lowry. Now Kyle's a straight bulldog, and although he struggled with his shooting in the playoffs, he still had a great regular season when it came to knocking down jumpers from all over the court. Now because Kyle creates a lot of his own shots, he shot about 39% from the three-point line this year. And so the thing that really solidified him on this list to me was his ability to shoot off of separation, things like step backs, pullbacks, getting that space away from the defender. You also notice that as a point guard, he's actually really well at moving without the ball to get an open shot, whether it's sliding up the lane or drifting to the corner or relocating once the ball goes into the post. And all those reasons are why he starts out the list at number 10. All right, so moving on to number 9 on the list, we've got Isaiah Thomas. Now, Isaiah had a phenomenal all-star year, and one of the reasons why is his ability to stretch the floor and knock down outside shots. He's actually one of the best finishers in the paint, and I feel like just in the last couple years, he's really worked on his outside game to become that full, unique, dynamic scorer. So this season, he shot about 36% from 3, but just like we talked about Lowry before, a lot of those were creating his own jump shot, thus his percentage is going to be hurt a little bit. And again, this countdown's about dynamic shooters, not just your catch and shoot guys, and that's one reason why he lands on the list. Because at his size, it's unbelievable how well he can get his jumper off against taller and longer defenders. So if you're a shorter guard and you're looking to become a dynamic shooter just like Isaiah Thomas, I highly recommend you check out a lot of his tape because you can learn a lot from him. And it just goes to show that shooting's not about height or size or strength. And that's why Isaiah Thomas lands on our list. And moving on to number 8, we've got CJ McCollum. Now, CJ had an absolute breakout year this last year, and one of the reasons is because he's one of the best knockdown shooters in the league. His high release and elite level footwork are 2 of the major reasons why he's such a great shooter. If you watch him shoot, he's always in full control of his body, and he doesn't really take bad shots. So McCollum shot about 42% from the three-point line this year, which I think is really good for being the first year that he's actually gotten big minutes. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if he shot a higher percentage next year, and one of the reasons why he landed a little higher up this list, just because I think that his upside is going to continue to improve. All right, next on the countdown at number 7 is JJ Redick. Now, a few years ago, we might not have put JJ on this list because I really kind of saw him as just a catch and shoot shooter. But over the last couple years, he's proved that he's more than just a catch and shoot guy, shooting a blistering 47% this year and hitting 200 threes. Now, although he's not as good as some of the guys on this list when it comes to shooting off the dribble, he is one of the best when it comes to moving without the ball and shooting in game situations. It doesn't matter if it's a pin down, relocation, step back, or lane slide, JJ's got a good chance of knocking pretty much every shot down. And when it comes to his actual shooting stroke, he probably has one of the prettiest, most textbook jumpers in the NBA. And because I really appreciate his transformation from a catch and shoot guy into a dynamic shooter, I had to put him on the list. All right, so now we got number 6, Kevin Durant. Now, KD is an absolute freak of nature. He's almost 7 feet tall and has some of the best range in the NBA. And although he's not super quick athletically, his quick release and his pure stroke allow him to be one of the best scorers that the NBA's ever seen. And the thing that I love about KD as a shooter is he doesn't necessarily rely on the three-point line. He can hit jumpers out of the mid-range, out of the post-up, pretty much any situation that he's put in, he's got the ability to knock it down. And the dude is also incredibly clutch. A lot of times when his team needs a big bucket, he's the man they go to. Now, I probably would have moved him up this list further, but he's such a good slasher and finisher at the rim, I think a lot of times that's what opens up his jumper. But don't get me wrong, KD is an absolute shooting monster, and he's always flirting with that elusive 50-40-90 club that not very many guys can get into. And that brings us to number 5, James Harden. Now, James Harden has some of the most optimized shooting mechanics on this entire list, and it's one of the reasons why he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. And when it comes to shooting out of creative situations, there might not be any better than James Harden. So this season, James Harden hit 236 three-pointers, and he shot about 36% from 3. Now, a lot like the other guys on the list, he takes a lot of the ball handling responsibility, thus his shooting percentage is going to be lower. But every time he decides to pull up, you can tell that the opposing defense is terrified. The thing that I love about James Harden as a shooter is that there's really no weakness. It's fast, it's tight, it's consistent, he's got range, he's pretty much got it all. And because of that, he cracks our top 5. All right, and at number 4, we've got Damian Lillard. Now, he's the second trailblazer on the list, and so it's no wonder that they had one of the most explosive backcourts in the NBA. And much like James Harden, what I love about Damian is that he really doesn't have any weaknesses. He can shoot off the catch, off the dribble, off the separation, off the mid-range. Pretty much any situation, Damian can get a shot off and knock it down. Now, Damian made 229 threes this season, and he shot about 37.5%. Now, after being snubbed from the All-Star game this last year, he really went on a tear when it came to shooting the basketball, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to bump him up this list. Now, as a shooter, there's a few things that I just absolutely love about Damian, and some of them are intangibles. Things like his swagger, his confidence, and his ability to hit clutch shots. And what's really scary is I think Damian can still get better. And that brings us to the top 3, and we start out with Kyrie Irving. Now last year, Kyrie probably would have been on the back end of this list for me, but he's actually reworked some of his shooting mechanics, and the tear that he went on through the playoffs made it so I had to bump him up this list. Now Kyrie only played in 52 games this year, and his 3-point percentage was about 32%, but coming off an injury, I kind of expected that. But we got to see him peak in the playoffs, and man oh man can he shoot the rock. I would be willing to guess that next year he's going to have a huge statistical increase in pretty much all shooting categories. And when it comes down to it, Kyrie might be one of the most lethal players with the ball in his hand. And rolling up on number 2, we've got Klay Thompson. Now Klay just might have the purest stroke in the NBA, and like we've seen, he can catch fire at any point in time. And Klay's pretty much got everything that you want in a dynamic shooter. He's got range, he's got quickness, he's got consistency, and he's got that stone cold assassin attitude that allows him to bury big shots when needed. Klay hit the second most amount of threes this year with 276, and he shot it at close to 43%. And if you add in the fact that the Warriors blew a lot of teams out through the regular season, these numbers probably both could have been higher. And what's crazy is that if it wasn't for a certain someone, that number of threes that he hit this year would have been the all-time NBA record. So long story short, Klay's one of the best shooting guards in the NBA, and he's kind of changing the way we think about dynamic shooters. And that's why he deserves to be way up the list. All right, we finally made it to number 1, and if you're still with us, you probably guessed it's Stephen Curry. Now, when it comes to being a dynamic shooter, Steph is an absolute anomaly. Statistically, it's unbelievable how many attempts he takes and how high his shooting percentage is. Steph hit 402 three-pointers this season. Let me repeat that. Steph made 402 three-pointers this season. And even though he shot so many shots, he shot a blistering 45% from the three-point line. 2016 was really the year of the dynamic shooter, and Steph was definitely leading the charge. He's such a good shooter, he's actually changing the way the game's played, taught, and thought. So because of all that, I had to make him the king of this shooting countdown.
All right, if you enjoyed this video or it helped you out, feel free to hit that like button down below, and then head to the comment section down below that and let me know what sort of countdown or video breakdown you want to see next. Like I always say, this is a channel for the people, by the people, and I run pretty much everything off of request. All right, if you're new to Shot Mechanics, you're gonna want to do 2 things. Number 1, hit that subscription button down below, because we put out videos every week and they're all gonna get you better, I guarantee it. The second thing you're gonna want to do is click the button above or the link in the description, get a free copy of my number 1 scoring workout. This scoring workout is gonna kind of change the way you think about training and probably increase your scoring average the very first time you use it. That's how powerful it is. And it's free. Again, I'm Coach Colin Castello with Shot Mechanics Basketball. Thanks for watching, and until next time, splash on.